Hi, folks. Good evening. I'm Ranjini Rao. I'm a life coach, a counselor, and an art therapist. And today, in the Warriors of Change series, I have a very, very special guest with me. Introducing Mrs. Sujata Keni, who is from Papua New Guinea
New Guinea.
and New Guinea. And she is, I'm not going to steal the thunder, but one thing, she is an extremely multifaceted individual, got various exposures with her, from an accountant to a librarian to a teacher. And now she is settled and retired, but she is not retired from life. She is a warrior. She has battled a disease or a challenge in her life which she has overcome. And it's so humbling for me to invite her in this series. So, welcome, Mrs. Sujata, ma'am. All over to you. Please tell us about yourself and how did you reach here?
Thank you, Ranjini, for that lovely words. Uh, you have already introduced me, and there's nothing much I can say that more about myself. So, how we are talking about the illness, which is cancer, which I suffered from about 30 years ago, and I'll just try to share my experiences, how I overcame it, and what were the contributing factors in helping me overcome that situation at that age when I was about 30 years old, barely 30 years old. So, Ranjini, you must have heard, and that we also believe that nature has a beautiful way to bring out the best in us, in each of us, at the appropriate time provided we have the desire to help ourselves. वो कहते हैं ना, God helps those who help themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. So I really like the word you used. You have used in one of your questions, access,
Yes.
which means that these gifts are inherent in us, already inherent within us. They are God given. Only we need to go within and exploit them or become aware of them. We get the strength to deal with such situations. In my case, my cancer, from the very divine within ourselves, although may be unknown to most of us. Anyway, what I think is the strong instinctive desire of survival at that time must have surfaced, acting at a subconscious level, even at that young age, and with minimum exposure to such incidents at the time. We were not even in the internet era those days. So all these things I'm only now being able to process and express after my spiritual journey has only just begun. Frankly speaking, at that time, I think 1990, such views or thoughts, uh, I didn't even let them crop up at all. In fact, I think maybe I even suppressed them too. And by suppressing such possible negative thoughts, probably the illness also didn't aggravate, which might have had I thought or dwelt on the negative aspects of it. And we all know that today we hear a lot of people talking more and more on the effects or the strength of the thought power. Yeah. So with all the quantum physics going on, we hear all of these things.
Yeah, but it's so you rightly said it is first of all the willpower to survive. And
Yes.
I'm sure when you had realized or this dawned upon you that you have this illness or this cancer, I'm sure people around you would have reacted. You would have reacted, and you're a mother, you as well. I'm sure it would have brought some impact on your kids. and how going back into the situation, though we do not want to go in the past, but I want to only help my viewers understand what goes into the mind of a person who knows, and what was the thought process, and what could we learn from those moments, what kept you going, basically. To put the question in a way, what kept you going from the time that you realized that you have it, to come out of it and celebrate life.
Okay. To answer that question, I'll have to go to a wider, broader
Yes,
frame,
yes,
maybe. So, as I said, that at that time I was totally unaware of how it was all evolving. You know, at that time we are in the situation, so you
yeah. When
can't
you're in
just,
the situation, you just
you
can't see
cannot.
ways of
Yes,
coming out, right? So how,
yes, yes.
my question to you is, how did you first realize that you can come out of it?
So looking back, it becomes easy to talk about it, of course.
Absolutely.
So now, actually, I now feel that at that time I must have been in a total denial kind of mode, right? Refusing to think that the dreaded C word had actually hit on me.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, the same C word that which we generally talk about in the third person, as or read about it about it in the news. This was 30 years back, mind you. Read about in the news as happening to someone somewhere in the remote places, but this time it had struck home,
yeah,
bullseye,
yeah,
bullseye. In fact, um, to give credit to all the family and friends who would visit me during those crucial months, not once did anyone mention even once about the word cancer in front of
yes,
me or make any adverse comments. And regarding my situation at such a young age, you were so young, you could have had more kids, and what a
right.
thing to happen, and kind of it didn't make me go into that negative mode.
So it kept you away from that downward spiral. It
Yeah.
kept you going. First was your own denial, but the surrounding or environment really did not talk about it. They kept it
Yes.
silent, and
Yes.
they were ready to deal with it.
Yes. Nobody made a single adverse
Nobody.
comment.
Yes,
No.
so that's very
Yeah.
important. I'm
Not in front of
taking notes.
me. Yeah, they
Yes,
must have, of
not.
course, discussed in the
Yes,
behind me,
yes,
but
I'm sure, or maybe not.
or maybe
But
not. Yeah,
maybe not. But this
maybe
is the
not.
first thing maybe our viewers need to know, that if you realize or you happen to have the C, the first things first is how you want to deal with it, and how your environment is dealing with the whole situation. It's very important that
That's
you
right.
get the encouragement from the family, because you yourself would be in a state of shock or whatever, trauma and denial, as you said. And I'm
Mm,
making notes that denial is the first thing which came to you, but
mm,
the support from your family was phenomenal, and the people around you. So it's
mm.
so important. Yeah, please
Correct.
continue, ma'am.
So you just said the word shock, so I thought I'll just elaborate on that. Shock, only the first day when we actually saw the lab results, we got the lab results came positive, and I shed just one single tear, literally one single tear, when both of us, my husband brought home the reports and he showed it to me. We were alone. Just one single tear. I still remember that. And, I don't know if it even sank in, that feeling actually sank in at that time. The enormity of the gravity of the situation even sank. I don't know. But that's all. And then total denial, kind of, I never thought about it or anything. I just accepted that maybe the doctors can do everything, and maybe the faith in the doctors, like I'll come to that
Yes, yes,
a little later.
yeah,
So anyway, I'll just elaborate now.
yeah,
Coming back, that's how I lived my life. It went on mechanically after that first things, first news of the situation we got to know. I just went on mechanically with my new daily routine. At first, the surgeries. Then I had about 2 or 3 surgeries. Two of them were major, and recovering from them all, and going through the regular radiation therapy sessions, and then the regular blood tests and whatever, all those earlier it used to be weekly, then it used to be fortnightly, then it went on to monthly, then they asked me to come 6 monthly, and then finally annually for a few years before it was not required, just to make sure that there was no relapse happening, just to rule out any relapse so that they could treat it in time. Then, of course, eating all the nutritious food as prescribed by the nutritionist. And of course, I was also being totally pampered by my family, the upside of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what I hear you and want to reflect back is, yes, the procedures were on, the lab tests, the constant visits to the doctor was on. You had to take care of your diet. And of course, when I say diet, including the mind, including the
Of course.
emotions, and
Yes.
including the food intake. That's a holistic way of how you approached it. That's phenomenal. If I have to put it in that way, it's a holistic care that you took of yourself, along with the support that you had from your doctors and your family. But
Mm-hmm.
most importantly, you followed that. The
Yes.
conviction that I don't know, I'm denying, but I will follow this to the T,
Correct.
right? So, when
Right.
was that turning point that really shifted you from a space of healing, from the condition to the healing itself? When did that happen?
Uh, can you just explain that a little bit? I didn't
So
get
yes,
the.
we are in a state of, we hold the condition or the symptom,
Hmm,
which is what we feel or assume is a reality. So
hmm,
you were in a space of reality doing what you were supposed to be doing.
correct.
But constantly there was an energy or a spirit or warrior spirit in you. But the
Ah.
consciousness was telling it's a denial. I'm denying it, right? So there were three things which were happening.
Hmm,
The real healing would have happened for you to, celebrate life here
hmm,
as you're speaking.
hmm.
Something to have, there was maybe a turning point or where the healing actually took place from
Okay.
within. What happened? What transition occurred for you to heal completely?
Okay, I get it. Yeah. Yeah. So before I go into that, let me just tell you that uh, I just have to just mention the immense support that I got from my close family during the entire duration of about 2 years or more. It was more than 2 years that the whole episode lasted.
2 years.
And yes, special mention I have to make about my husband, who was a doctor himself, and also my two sisters, who not only provided the moral support during the surgery or during the whole time, they just gave moral support kind of just by being there for me, by not talking about it and whatever, as well as logistic support. My son was only hardly 6 years at that time, and so by helping in taking care of him or accompanying me to the hospital so frequently. And my husband even explained to my son in the best way one could to a child that nothing what had happened to mummy and that nothing untoward would happen and things like that. So all this background, I just want to give it to you so that your audience will understand where I'm coming from.
Yes. So, what were the core beliefs that you imbibed during this period?
uh, okay, so I would say that the take home message I perceived eventually after all the crisis had blown over was that there were three crucial points that need to be kept in mind in any adverse situation in life, not just the illness part of it. So, my son also probably became suddenly very mature at that time. See how nature took care of him. Circumstances make us to deal with life, and that is the divine law of nature. All these things have to be just experienced, Ranjini, not just
Yeah.
expressed.
I
They
know
have to
it's
be
very
felt.
easy for us to be talking from this perspective, but I'm sure, you have experienced it. So it comes from wisdom.
Yes, yeah, experience, and people who are undergoing such circumstances will also know what I felt back then.
Right,
what the
right.
feeling is.
Yes.
So all these incidents actually make me wonder, I must share here, that it must have played a great role in me not going into any sort of despair or any sort of negative thinking on my part. I only remember that my main motivation to fight for survival or for my life was my little boy who definitely needed his mother back then. That motivation must have been that motivation must have built up the willpower in me and kept me going strong without even dwelling on the what if aspect of it. I don't even recall ever thinking of the ultimate eventuality or possibility happening to me even a single time. I just kind of negated it.
Wow. So I heard you say one thing is the willpower to survive, not because you innately wanted it, but because thinking of your son. Like, I have to live for my son. And then
Yes,
there was a shift in the energy that no, there's no question about me giving up,
yes,
giving in. I'm
yes.
going to go through this.
For me, that was the reason.
That was the reason.
Main
Main
reason.
reason. So now, why we started this Warriors of Change is every change has a purpose in it. Every pain has a purpose or meaning to it. So, how did you discover your spiritual truths and then unlock that best self in you?
Um, so the take-home message, so to say, that I
Yeah.
perceived eventually after all this crisis had blown over, of course. During that time, I couldn't figure out what was happening. But anyway, uh, I thought about three crucial points that need to be kept in mind in any similar adverse situations in life, not just necessarily the medical
Yes. Yes.
crisis. So the first one is the faith in the God, faith in your own God or the divine within you, within yourself. Then faith in your doctors if it's a medical crisis. And finally, the third and most important is your own conscious willpower to survive the trauma both physically and mentally. And the fighting spirit in you has to come from within. And it is you who needs to believe all of the above and then just simply surrender. Surrender without any expectations. You make that, that determination and just surrender, leave it everything to the divine. Rest, I assure you, happens automatically, naturally, and divinely.
So beautifully said, ma'am. Because there is always a conflict when we are going through adversities, right? That I have control and I'm not getting control. And I somewhere invariably we lose trust in ourselves and in the doctors who are trying to do their best. But we talk
Yes.
about spirituality or the divinity within. Or sometimes we have faith in something outside again. Like there is this God form whom we believe in, but will he or she help me?
Mm,
Um, so this is the condition or what beliefs we have acquired from childhood or from whatever stage in life to not believe in the innate healing power within ourselves. So what I am taking away, and I hope this helps a lot of people who are dealing with adversities, is to first believe in that higher power. What I heard you saying is then believe and trust in the person who is helping you if it's a medical condition.
mm,
If it's any other condition, then look around who is trying to play that catalyst role of supporting you in that life situation. The third thing, the very important thing is all these things can come to you. Even God can come in front of you. But if you don't believe in yourself, then no one can help. So the third most important thing is have the faith and the belief in self. And willpower is the spiritual essence that you brought in, and maybe others can bring in the willpower to bring that change. So, power to choose to will your life force in you is the game changer. And then, probably, what I heard you saying is surrender. Because after all this work is done, that is an internal thing or an intrinsic way of, working on self. There is an extrinsic behavior or expression that needs to come out, which is surrender. That's also sometimes missed, because we think, now how will the change happen? Now we have let go, what is going to happen? So for me, the most important thing is these 4 steps lead you to actually bringing you to a new reality
Correct.
in what you want in your life. And so profound, ma'am. Please. Okay.
That's right.
Okay. So, what is the message that you would like to give our fellow viewers about life itself? As you enjoy and celebrate life today, you look back, what are the key takeaways that people could take from you or learn?
Okay, that's a good question. So for about 10 years, like I told you, I was in total denial mode. I just went through life like a zombie with respect to my illness aspect of it, of course, and not a single person referred to it, or I didn't talk a word about it. It was as if I just wanted to white out that phase of my life from my, from my life, as if by not talking about it would just make it go away, as if nothing had happened to me at all. Then suddenly, somewhere down the years, I think I must have realized how by talking to somebody and some people and gaining insight, I would have realized how my own experience might help somebody else also to cope with overcoming similar situations
Right.
in their lives. It was then that I told myself it is time, to be just stop being selfish and instead share my experiences and beliefs I had found within myself with anyone who cared to listen or take value from it. So, if they can relate to my experience and take value, then I thought that should not stop me from doing it.
So meaningful, because if I can do it, you can do it too. That's the gift I have
Yeah,
to share. And now it's up to you to take the gift. It's
yeah,
pretty much like that.
correct. And at some point, actually, much later, I even used to visit the Kidwai Cancer Hospital in Bangalore to offer voluntary counseling services to the patients undergoing treatment there, treatment for cancer there. Yeah, yeah. I just
So
went.
that brought out the counselor in you to help counsel. So that's also
Ma-
a gift. So yeah, please go ahead, ma'am.
no, attempts must be made, finally.
Yes,
Even
yes.
the,
What I also take from this conversation is that there is a warrior spirit that awakens in everyone,
yes,
and the
yes,
choice to express the divine in its fullest way is the true fulfillment in life. That's why each one of us are given these gifts, because only we are capable of doing it. It was not given to somebody else. So
correct.
real full, I mean, when we acknowledge and we are grateful that God, why, it's not a question like why me, but oh, thank God it's me, is when the whole energy shifts, because now you know what to do with the energy that was bothering us in the conscious, and we somewhere attach ourselves to that embodiment that this is me. No, this is not me. The fullest expression within is the God or divinity which wants to express itself through me. So you become the channel of wisdom, what you came to set out to do in this lifetime. That's how I see this whole evolution of, it's so beautiful when you reflect and rewind back and look at the journey. It only makes you feel even more grateful for the gifts. So thank you for bringing your gift and sharing your gift, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Ranjini, for giving me this opportunity, not just to share my thoughts or ideas, but just to reach out to the audience who are facing similar situations in their lives. It doesn't have to be medical situation. All this spiritual thoughts that I shared about will apply to any crisis in life. So if it just makes a difference to even a single person, I'll consider myself blessed.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable time. And for our viewers, I hope you get the message that everything is in the mind. The warrior in yourself is in the mind. How you think about your life and what kind of energy you want to give yourself and to your situation or condition is where life will take you further. So with that, I thank you for watching, and have a great evening or a morning from wherever you're watching, and goodbye.
Thank you.